Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast. Chip Talks Health is what we're going to begin to start calling this podcast. So, because we talk about all things related to health, we're not just talking about the endocannabinoid system or cannabinoids. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. But this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we will certainly be talking a lot about breast cancer and cancer this month and kind of what you can do and ways you can help yourself if you have that, or ways that you can prevent it if you don't and need to know if you have it or not. So we'll be talking a lot about that this month. But today we're welcomed by a very special guest, Miss Diane Keeble. So Diane, welcome to the show. Glad to have you today.
Thank you so much, Chip. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show and get a chance to kind of tell my story a little bit and see if we can help some ladies out here get through this terrible disease we got going on. So.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And that's exactly what we want to do today. So we want to have a discussion, really a health discussion, with you. But since you've kind of lived the dream, let's talk a little bit about your journey. So can you talk a little bit about, just start, I guess, at the beginning, when your health journey began and kind of what kicked it off and everything?
Yeah. Okay. When in 2016, I did have a little bit of awareness that something was going on with one of my left breasts. So as soon as I didn't have insurance at the time, so I went to the doctor as soon as I turned 65, the day of. It was on my birthday, and I was able to go get my checkup, mammogram, and whatnot. And so from there they found breast cancer, and thankfully, thank God that it was only a stage 2. So I did not have to do any treatments, no radiation or chemo or anything like that. I didn't know anything else was available, to do besides that either at the time. So it's a different story today than it was back in 16. So in 16, I went ahead and did a double mastectomy in February of 2017. So from there, it's very scary for people. Those first words are like, wow, it was just.
And that was. Yeah, and that was before there was really a lot of, like, we have a lot more, it's 8 years, let's say, past that. We have a lot more information now about breast cancer. And, back then, you're right. I mean, it was, it was like, this is, you do something now or, you're going to die, right? And so it was very, very scary. And so you went the so what was your lifestyle kind of, let's say, before that? I mean, were you concerned about your health that much, or, just kind of
well, I did have, I have a liver issue. It's called primary biliary cirrhosis. It's not really a disease of the liver. It's more a disease of the bile ducts that goes to your liver. They deteriorate. So it's kind of an autoimmune disease, they say. So those bile ducts deteriorate, and so your liver doesn't get all the functions it needs and everything. So the bile kind of backs up there. So anyway, that was the only thing that I had going on, and I've always been very active. I'm a hairdresser for 48 years, and I've always been very active, and I've always loved to exercise. So I was active, and I did all kinds of all kinds of different kinds of exercise and stuff. And in fact, the time that I was doing it, I was teaching Zumba, so dance fitness, and loved it. I mean, loved it. But after that, I kind of veered off from that a little bit, more or less because of a time thing, but I had to take off time to take care of myself. I didn't, it it was kind of hard to focus on other stuff when you got that going on in there.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's kind of scary with the breast cancer, but the primary biliary cirrhosis was my only concern at that point in my health. I didn't have diabetes. I don't have high blood pressure. I have good blood pressure. I don't really have any other issues. So when the breast cancer came up, in a way, the liver thing was more scary because you have to take all this medicine. You have to have surgery. You have to have all that medicine put in your body for you to go to sleep. And there's not much medicine out there that's okay for a liver. There's just not much out there at all. And that was a very much a concern too, whenever I had the surgery.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the biliary cirrhosis, that is, now we know, that is so closely associated with, some kind of infection, let's say. So some kind of a, could be H. pylori, could be a bunch of different bugs, but that is now, very closely associated with infection. Like, in any autoimmune disease, right? So the kind of definition of an autoimmune disease is your immune system kind of attacks your own tissues, right? And that just doesn't happen naturally. You have in every cell that you produce, you put a tag on it that says, this is me, this is Diane. So your immune system won't, attack those cells that are tagged. Well, part of the strategy by a bug will be to take that tag off, so your immune system attacks yourself rather than the bug. And it's kind of a strategy, but that's looking to be what's happening with, let's say autoimmune diseases, where you've got your own immune system attacking your own tissue. So that's and that's better now, right?
Oh yes, definitely. And that's where this hemp and marijuana, all that came into play with my situation, and how I actually was researching that whenever I met you and Cindy. And it's been a wonderful experience, I have to say, because at first my son suggested with the breast cancer, he said, I'm reading up on that, and marijuana could possibly be a help to you. You ought to look into it. Well, of course, that's illegal in Texas, and it was around. There was a few states that were legalized, back then, but not very many in Texas. Is probably going to be one of the last, if they ever do recreation, for sure. But that's when I started looking into it, and it was scary to even look into it, because I was like, no, not pot. I'm not. That was like, no, you can't do that. But in that research, I found hemp, which was wonderful.
Well, and you're a lot like most people. Let's say you would have never considered hemp or cannabis, or let's say an endocannabinoid solution. But it just, because just like me, I mean, your mind was programmed just like mine. It was like, it's horrible. It's, horrible. But so how long after let's say your surgeries and everything, did you begin to kind of consider hemp or an endocannabinoid, let's say, type solution?
Yeah. Well, in 2017 was my surgery. So I believe fall of 2018 is when my daughter and I I'd already been researching and reading about it, and I do a lot of audio books, so I had those going on in my head all the time about cannabis and everything. So I just kept researching, and then we went to a hemp convention, or we call it a convention, a market, where they tell you all about it, and different companies and stuff like that were making it, because they had passed the farm bill, back then. And even that was still a little gray area. You were still a little bit concerned about, you heard people, on this getting stopped with hemp and going to jail at that time. And it was still kind of scary, but we went ahead and started looking into it, and that's when we met you guys. And so that was about 18, somewhere fall of 18, I believe, 19.
Yep.
And so once I started with hemp and just before I really knew about TrueMedX too much, I was just, kind of researching stuff. And I took some hemp, and my liver function just started to get a little bit better. Every time I went to the doctor, it was just better and better. And she thought that all those years before that I wasn't taking my medicine. My doctor didn't, she kept thinking, well, what's going on here? You must not have been taking your medicine right before for this to be getting better now. Because it was like, if I remember right, my functions were way in the 300s, and they're supposed to be like not over 116, between 40 and 116 is the basic line there. And when she started giving me the medicine, I took the medicine and it went down to like 240, but it would not budge from that. It just, I took the medicine every day. It got to be very expensive too. At first it wasn't so expensive, but of course when pharma realizes you need this stuff, it seems like it gets more expensive.
Yep.
But yeah, so I started taking the hemp, and it just slowly started bringing it down. And I was just amazed, and my doctor was amazed, and she still doesn't believe that's what helped me. I do tell her that I do it, but she still said, she looked me right in the face and said, "That's not helping you." So, okay, but I went ahead.
It's funny, it's and I'm not a doctor, so I can't, give you medical advice, and I might give you a lot of information that might be alternative to what a doctor is telling you, but I can never really, I'm not going to go against the doctor, what a doctor is telling you. But at the same time, and we've run into this, there's so many people like in your position, Diane. So I think this is why this is so important to talk about. And especially with statins, right? Statins seem to be the thing that I can show you evidence of statins being tied to dementia, to Alzheimer's, to all kinds of stuff. And statins will lower your cholesterol, no question. And they're also tied to like muscle loss and, things that we attribute to just aging that maybe aren't aging, that maybe are attributed to statins, right? So, but to try to, again, it's just, that's a hard discussion to have with people because physicians are so dead set on statins, and they've got this cholesterol test that proves it to them. And that's a hard argument. But we're going to, the next 5 years, we're going to learn how horrible. Certainly statins have a place. They've saved some lives and all that. So they have a place in medicine, but at the same time, not everyone needs to be taking it.
Right. Yeah, I think way too many people are on it. That even myself, my cholesterol was only 6 points over the LDL, and my doctor wanted me to take statins 3 times a week, and I'm like, not gonna do that.
Good for
Not
you.
unless it gets way, 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 way worse.
So what do you feel like, and this is because I know I've had this feeling, and I know a lot of people, let's say, who are over 55 have this feeling that I'm, I can't argue with my doctor. I can't push back. I'm not, I'm not empowered enough. I don't have the kind of necessary information. So what has empowered you to be able to kind of push back, let's say, and, take control of your own health?
It's just, there's just so much more out there today than what used to be. We didn't have any choices back then, I don't think. I mean, maybe, and I wasn't in that position, so I don't know, but in what I've learned is you just have to look at everything for yourself. You cannot just go by what everything the doctor says. You don't know. I'm a hairdresser, so women share everything with me. We talk about all kinds of stuff. And they're starting to feel that too. They're starting to understand that every time they go to the doctor, it's like they just want to give you another Band-Aid or pill, and they're starting to feel like there's something wrong with that. It's not normal to have take a girlfriend of mine. I went to visit in Oklahoma last week, and she's sick, and she said, I don't know if I'm going to pull out of this one, and she's only 75, and
Wow.
I said, well, are you taking any medicine? She held up 2 sacks. And I said, that right there could be a lot of your problem, right there. It's
Yeah.
just too much medicine. Your body just doesn't know what to do with all that. I mean,
Yeah.
even when I was young, I wondered, how does this pill over here know to go to my headache, or this, trying to understand that. And with a liver problem, you cannot take Tylenol, ibuprofen, anything over the counter. I don't take any kind of cold medicine. I take nothing over the counter because I don't know where it got all messed up, but I just know that people think that just going and taking a handful of ibuprofen, and I was one of them because I was in fitness, so I was always sore because I was always pushing myself as hard as I could. I was doing several Zumba classes a week, and it's tiring and hard on your body, so you get stiff, and 'cause when you teach, you really put more, you have to put more into it, so your muscles get really tight and sore. So I would, I was taking ibuprofen too, and I was like, and everybody would say, oh, you shouldn't take all that. I didn't know that it was that bad. I really didn't, but it is
It,
horrible.
have you found that let's say the TrueMedX products kind of completely offset that need for you?
Exactly what happened. So I started with the hemp a little bit, and then after I met you guys, the all I don't know of any of the products. There might be one or two that I haven't used, but the comfort and ease, the vitality, the gut, all these products are great. I mean, I stand by them 100%, but that's what my medicine cabinet looks like now. It doesn't look like ibuprofen, Tylenol, cold stuff. I take the Breathe, TrueMedX Breathe, whenever I have allergies and stuff, when something in the air is bothering me. I take Comfort and Ease. If I just have a slight headache or I'm a little bit sore or something, I'll just take 1 or 2 Comfort and Ease, and that will help. If I have a really bad headache I'm real bad about lifting stuff that's way too heavy for me. So, even though I'm small, I'm pretty strong, but I will attempt to, do things that I shouldn't probably. But I'll get, maybe a bad headache, and I'll have to take 2 Comfort and Ease and 2 Vitality, and that right there will knock it out. And then the product that you made for us, the SMBS pain stick. I use that all the time. I have, doing hair all the time. You have your sore neck and muscles and stuff, and I use that. And that's what my medicine looks like now. It doesn't look like everybody else's.
That's also, and I think that's so important, not to promote our TrueMedX products, but it's just important. It's important to understand that there are, you said it, Tylenol and ibuprofen are super damaging to the liver. And if you've got, and all of us are chronically inflamed right now, we all have some kind of chronic infection. But if you have a chronic infection, basically your liver produces some enzymes, some, let's say, amino acids to help kind of kill whatever it is that's going on. So glutathione, and then glutathione is also kind of what protects your liver. So if you've got a big infection, your liver is kind of undefended, let's say. And so things like Tylenol and ibuprofen can be really damaging, the worse, let's say, the infection is. And so we've worked really hard to try to build an alternative so that people don't wreck their livers, with in an alternative that works and will work for, kind of, let's say, daily minor, scrapes, pains, aches, headaches, things like that. So cool. It's so good to hear that your medicine cabinet now looks like a natural cabinet.
It does. It definitely does. My husband's always, what are you mixing up now?
Yeah, that's great.
But no, it's all good. I mean, I wish everybody's medicine cabinet looked like that. Because there are even you don't know how many doctors have told me that I can take ibuprofen.
Oh.
It won't hurt my liver, and I'm like, I beg to differ. So I don't. I tell them. I do tell them. I don't mind telling because it's my body, and I have a little bit of a neck issue. I have my C4 and 5 rubbed together, because of just stress and all that on your natural, I guess.
Cutting hair.
Yeah.
It's from cutting hair.
Oh, yes, exactly. So, I had to go to the doctor for my neck. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something, when you've had cancer, every time you have a major pain and it doesn't go right away, then you do, want to pay attention to it. So I went to the doctor. He's like, oh, you can take ibuprofen all you want. It won't hurt your liver. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing surgery. So there's so many alternatives to so many different issues. A lot of people with structural issues, that's what I do now. I teach eccentrics, aging backwards, and it's a dynamic stretch program. And what we try to do is give our joints more space, and also rebalance your muscles so that you take a lot of that pain away, all the little aches and pains and stuff. And you'll be so surprised at people that can't even rotate their ankle because we sit too much.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
Interestingly, does that help people with, people as they age will shuffle their feet. And this is a lot of times why they'll fall is that they just, we forget to pick up our feet, right? We kind of get lazy. Does it help you? And it's not a muscle thing. Again, anybody who's, if you're shuffling and you're 90 out there, you can fix this, but Diane's going to tell you how right now. But does it help with that?
Yes, it does. It absolutely does, because our muscles get so atrophied from just sitting too much, not using them. And we've got 650 muscles, and I would just throw it out there that maybe we use a third of them in our daily routine, because we get up, we go take a shower, we get dressed, we go, to work, we walk. You never use your side muscles, you don't use your ribs, there's just so many that you don't use. And if you can't bend your feet, like this, or rotate them, your feet's your foundation. So you have to, keep them healthy, and half of our bones in our body are in our hands and in our feet. So you got to work that too, so lifestyle is part of that part for sure.
And you are, you have sort of, let's say, committed to this holistic lifestyle, and you've been sort of one of our people that we've had for a long time that have been all in, let's say, on kind of what we're doing. And so you've been through some thermal imaging and some bioresonances. And then you've had people, let's say, that we've come down to your beauty shop and done thermal images for other people that So can you talk a little bit about maybe some things that have been discovered with those, with some friends of yours or you, and kind of how that's led to maybe some changes and help and all that, just sort of going through that process?
Absolutely. You don't know the countless people that comes in and they do these, and they're just shocked at what if they have some parasites or whatever, and their inflammation in their body with the thermal imaging. And they just, they're shocked that they have that, and they see that when they see the report. But it can be fixed, you know. So, and that's what I encourage them. And sometimes they don't believe it. They don't believe, like, I had a little girl the last time you guys were there, and you told her she had a UTI, and she's like, no, I don't, you know. 48 hours later, she was in the emergency room getting medicine. She didn't know then, you know, exactly what to do about it, but it was bad. And she was just amazed that you could see that before she knew it. And that's the same way. I had another client that did the same thing. I believe it was E. coli, and she really didn't think that that's what she had. And she ended up, a few months later, she was in the hospital for like a month. She was in the hospital, and that's what it was. And it was, you know, you can see, from what I understand, with the thermal imaging and the bioresonance, you can see things before they know they have it or they have anything going on. So maybe you can explain how that is. And with breast cancer, can you see before a mammogram, or as good as, or?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And well, first of all, I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose anything. So I got to say all my disclaimers. And these are not, well, thermal imaging can, in the hands of a doctor, can diagnose, let's say, breast cancer. So it is a diagnostic instrument. The bioresonance really isn't. But what the bioresonance does is it understands frequency. And so it turns out all of our organs will have a unique frequency. Even the tissues in those organs will have a unique frequency. And it can understand when things are, let's say, approaching that frequency. So it can look at something like a staph, and it can see when staph is getting closer to that same frequency as the tissue. And so that's, you know, when I send you those reports and stuff, that's the number that you're seeing. So the greater that number is, the you know, you're not going to have it. But the closer that begins to get to that frequency, let's say of the heart or whatever, then that's when we have like an indication that you might have that thing. And so, you know, it could be headed, let's say, toward an organ, and we could detect it before it actually gets there. And so that's kind of what we're seeing with the predictive stuff. It's not really predictive. It's, you know, we have all these pathogens all the time that get inside of us, that are all around us. You know, anytime you lick your skin, you're just, you know, infecting yourself with staph, let's say. And it's really more about our immune system and how, you know, the cells and every organ and stuff in our body defend themselves against those pathogens. So this machine just helps kind of understand that and helps give indications of when things are close. Now, with breast cancer, though, with the thermal imaging will detect heat, okay? And when cancer begins to form, let's say when cells get dysregulated, they begin to get hotter. They get hotter than the other cells around them. And so in something like, let's say, when breast tissue begins to get dysregulated, we can begin to see and pick up that heat with a thermal imaging camera. And honestly, with a thermal imaging camera, it's like, you know, and I can never tell you have cancer. So I would say you need to go to the oncologist. You need to go to the oncologist right now. But that line is interesting because I can see heat, let's say, before it's a real problem. And I can begin to tell someone, hey, you know, you might want to work on your chronic inflammation, and let's intermittent fast, and let's do a bunch of stuff like that before it gets, you know, to be really cancer. So we can intervene, you know, we can help you, let's say, that is the best way to say it, intervene really, really early with the thermal imaging. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I have done the of course I didn't know about this before my breast cancer, so it was found through mammogram. But so when you see something on the thermal imaging, do you so you can just tell that it is something's going on, right? So you just tell your patient, or not your patient, your clients, that you just go get this checked out, go to your doctor, see what they say, and see if if there's anything going on there. And
yeah, and I'm going to give him in our reports, and obviously we'll interface with a radiologist or physician or anything like that and give them the images and let them kind of see the same thing that we're seeing. So we'll trade that data, provided the customer's okay with that and kind of signs the trade flows. But so it's what we'll provide. We provide a report, let's say, that's going to say, and the way that I say it is, when I'm, let's say, analyzing you for breast cancer, I'm going to be looking at the temperature of your two breasts, right? And I'm going to be seeing if one's hotter than the other right off. And if one breast is hotter than the other, then that's like a warning sign. So that's telling me, hey, this one has more heat than this one. And that means that this one stuff may be going on. So then I'm going to really drill into, let's say, that image, and I'm going to be looking for those areas of heat and where are those areas of heat, and if they're associated with mammary glands and all that. And I'm going to be sort of saying, you're hot in this breast and there's a hot spot right here, and it's 2 degrees hotter than the rest of your tissue, and that's pretty hot, and you might want to take this to your oncologist as soon as you can. But we're going to pick up the phone and call people if it's really, really bad. But that's kind of what I do if someone is, let's say, over that line, is we're going to give them a lot of information that they can take to their physician. And then always happy to, it's interesting always for me to talk to physicians. It's, some physicians are very open-minded, which is awesome. Most aren't. They think that, people like us are trying to take advantage of you or, get you when you're weak, or, we have some magical cancer answer or something. And, that's the furthest from the case, as we go the opposite way. We'll literally give you our heart and soul and not ask you for much in return. So.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you guys are so giving, and I'll tell all the people out there that's listening that I was your worst nightmare when it come to questions, because I was constantly sending questions to Cynthia and you. And it was a great learning experience, though, for me, as far as just learning about the human body. I'm very interested in how all this stuff works, and I got married really young and not educated when it comes to, I didn't go to college and study medicine or anything, but I have some common sense. So I urge people out there to really think about what's going on with you. What could you do? How can you find a way to fix something? Because and start low, slow, do whatever you can do to do it, but just look into alternative things for themselves to help them get back on without, of course, a supplement is basically a pill, but the natural medicine. Try to go, just at least explore that. And I know that you promote intermittent fasting, which I do, and people are always telling me, well, you're thin. Why are you doing that? But would you tell everybody what it is about the intermittent fasting and what turns off that gene, or what you explain that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm thin too, and my wife is thin, and people always ask us, well, why in the world do you fast? You guys are, thin. So I'm sure you kind of get the same questions. And so, for health, and here's why. So, and there's a lot of people, to your point, everybody's kind of waking up right now, and there's all this information out there. And I'm like, I'm always like fearful of you going on an information journey, because I don't want anyone to kind of find the wrong sources, right? Because I found the wrong sources for a long time. I listened to the wrong people. I was, let's say, didn't go find my own truth. And so, but I had to here, because there's so much confusion about, let's say, fasting, right? And we first of all, we think that we have to eat 3 meals a day. That's completely wrong. You can go 40 days without eating, 40. We think that feeling in our tummy, that we get about 10 o'clock every morning, we get about 3 o'clock every afternoon is meaning that we have to eat. No, it just means that's a good time to eat. It actually comes from CB1 neuroreceptors expressing in your gut. That's what that feeling is that we have. So we're just so misinformed, and obviously like what we eat is so bad right now and really bad for us.
Exactly.
So if you eat in the food system, it's just so horrible. So we're just so misled about food. Okay. So it's just a chaotic and confused mess out there about food. So when you really kind of begin to, let's say, do your own work and do your own diligence on what works and what doesn't and what you should do and not, what I did was I just went to, I'm going to like figure out how a cell works. So what does a cell need? And so cells have an engine inside of them called mitochondria. Okay. And so mitochondria are basically the powerhouse of the cell. They're what produce energy. And, I'm alive right now and talking to you, and we're having this conversation because of our mitochondria are giving us enough energy to do it. So healthy mitochondria mean a healthy you. I guess that's just the best way to look at it. But how do I optimize a mitochondria? And so a mitochondria will run on 3 different types of fuel substrates. So they've got kind of let's say a sugar, a gas, and a nitro, that they'll run on, right? Mm-hmm. And so sugar is literally one of the substrates that they run on, glucose. And so that's a real inefficient way to run mitochondria. Okay, so real inefficient way, but you can run mitochondria that way, and all mitochondria will run that way on glucose. We're designed to run on fat. Okay, so our mitochondria are optimized around fat. A plant's mitochondria are optimized around light. You can run on light, your mitochondria will run on light, and mine will too, and a plant can kind of run on fat. Right? But you're optimized around fat and a plant is optimized around light, but we're really optimized around fat. So we store energy in fat, right? So there's a switch that you have inside of yourself. And when we're burning fat, we're like 20 to 50 times more efficient. We have a robust immune system. We have 2 ways to kill cancer. We break down cholesterol, so you really can't have a cholesterol issue if you're always in a fasted state. We're more better up here. Every time we eat a meal, we go into low energy mode. We go into a mode where our mitochondria are running on glucose, where we have less in an immune system. We have no way to fight cancer. We make cholesterol rather than break it down. So it's not a state that we want to stay in very long, but yet by our behavior, we stay in it most of the time. So if you eat breakfast, even if you just eat if you put creamer in your coffee, breakfast, blap, you go over here. Even if you just eat the smallest lunch possible, blap, you go over here. Dinner, blap, you go over here. So, we really want to, eating is the most consequential thing and most damaging thing, let's say, that we do to ourselves every day. So we want to be very intentional about when we eat and what we eat. And so eating less is better for us. So I eat less because it's better for my health. And I don't mean less volume of food. I mean less frequently. Yeah. And so Cindy and I eat 1 meal a day. We might eat for 2 hours during that, let's say, mealtime, or 3. But we just eat 1 meal a day. And again, I'm not doing that for weight. I'm doing that for health. We are around incredibly sick people every day. I mean, I see TB, I see, just all cancers and, all manner of infectious disease and all that walk through our door every day and put on our little Bioresonance headphones.
Right.
So I never will be in a, let's say, fed state when I'm at work because I don't want to get sick. Yeah. So that's why we do it. So that's why.
Yeah. And that's why I do it too. I just don't know all the science stuff behind it. So when I'm explaining it to people, they're like, well, I just put a little creamer in my coffee in the mornings. That's all. I'm like, well, just stop that, and you're probably in a good place to start. You're fasting, and you guys have the new fasting tablets too, that will help. people with, getting started on the fasting thing. Because I know it, it's not that they just don't understand it. I think more than anything is they're afraid of going more than 3 hours without eating. It's kind of,
Yeah, it just
I have way more energy. I do my classes on it. So Monday, Wednesday night. I ate Tuesday night. Finished eating about 8:30, and I did not eat until 7:15 the next day, the
Mhm.
next evening. And I worked all day long. I did highlights, style cut, all this stuff. And I went and taught two classes that day.
Oh, wow.
I still felt wonderful when I got home.
Yeah,
At 7:15, it's time to eat.
it's amazing, and you don't really like. Let's say if people who are still eating 3 meals a day, and again, it may just be that creamer and a coffee, right? But people are still eating 3 meals a day. You don't realize how tired you get when you eat because it's just sort of your normal. When you begin to do this intermittent fasting, you'll be amazed at the amount of energy and mental clarity, and just, it's like your body lights up. I mean, it just, it's better. It's a better state. Interestingly, when we're trying to help people, it's, let's say, someone has breast cancer, right? So we have to have that conversation with them about intermittent fasting, because again, we want to check every box to kill that. Your body will kill that cancer. Your body will kill that cancer. God gave you a way for your body to kill that cancer, and it may take some supplements, right? So we may have to give it some extra help and everything, and that may be chemo, and that may be whatever pharma says. But let's get your body in the optimal healing state, right? So again, in a fed state, you have no way to kill cancer. You don't have autophagy, which is a process, and you don't have a protein called P53. In a fasted state, you do. So right off the bat, if I can just teach you about intermittent fasting, now your body is helping you fight that cancer instead of helping the cancer, right? So
Right.
that's kind of number one. And then if we can begin to talk to you about what to eat, like stay away from the sugar, stay away from the gluten, let's get you foods that are going to support your body's healing and fighting this. Well, okay, that's even going to help you more. Now, we haven't gotten to supplements or cannabis or fenbendazole or chemotherapy or any of that stuff yet. We're just talking about stuff everyone can control. So definitely, if you got cancer, that's going to help you. But even if you don't have cancer, that's going to put your body in the healing state where now supplements are really going to work, or pharma is really going to work a lot better, right? So that's really, that's why intermittent fasting is so important, to talk about. And, it's just why I preach it all the time.
I know, absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of people that do it, and at first they're not. It's hard to get started, but once they do, and then sometimes they'll, like, maybe they're doing it more for weight loss, possibly. So they'll lose just a few pounds, and then it'll stop maybe, but they kind of get away from it, and then we've had people that's come back to it. Okay, well, try it. Just keep trying, and see if you can get there. And even if they do, I'm always telling them maybe a 16-hour. That's not that hard to do. But I think most days of the week I just do like a 3-hour eating window most days. Now I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, and I just, I ate, I tried to hold my husband off to eat till after 1, at least 1 to about 8 o'clock. And then we're done. So that helped, but it was a little bit of a challenge to get back to my normal. Not too bad. It took me about 2 days to feel really comfortable about waiting until 5 or 6 o'clock to eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
And
it did, and it was fine. And once I did, I feel so much better.
yeah, yeah, and it's like on weekends, it's hard when I'm bored, right? If I'm busy, I don't, but when I'm bored, I start thinking about food. I start thinking about,
Mhm.
the comfort of eating. And so you really kind of, if when you begin to do this, you really begin to appreciate how let's say, addicted would be the wrong thing, but how important food is in our thinking. But
Oh, no.
but you've and we do that, again, if you're doing this, it's a big lifestyle change, right? So you're doing awesome. One of the things to tell people, though, if they're interested in kind of doing this, and some people will say, well, I just, I get uncontrollable hunger about noon, and if I don't eat, I'll feel like I'm going to pass out, and I just, I don't know what you're talking about, more energy. And I just, I get way less energy when I don't eat and everything. So those are people generally that have eat, let's say, more carbohydrates than protein. And so those people will have a little bit harder time getting started intermittent fasting. And the thing that will really help those people, and this sounds so stupid simple, but it works, I promise you, is a tablespoon of olive oil. Yep. Just take a tablespoon of olive oil. It'll take all that passing out. I can't go. You gotta eat now. It'll take it all away. Yeah. So
yeah, a lot of people that are diabetic, they're really scared to start. But I say, what's the harm of trying? Just try it, and see how long you can go. Push an hour back every day or 30 minutes or whatever, and just kind of ease yourself into it. It'll
yep.
work, and you will feel better, and you can pick your own hours you want to eat, and it's cheap. It doesn't cost you anything.
Exactly. And it's something that I don't have to I don't have to listen to a doctor. I don't have to listen to a psychologist. I don't have to listen to anybody. I can do this, and I can improve my health, and
Exactly.
I can begin to, take back control. On diabetes. So type 1 diabetes, be careful, intermittent fasting, right? Type 2 diabetes, it will eradicate and again, if you don't listen to me, just Google it, type 2 diabetes and intermittent fasting, and you'll get all you need about, how it's helped people, how it's eradicated type 2 diabetes, on and on and on. So,
yeah, I've even asked my cardiologist, my husband and I go to the same guy, and I said, do you promote intermittent fasting? And he said, I do, if they'll do it. And that's, he runs into the same problem, trying to get them to intermittent fast, and most people won't do it.
So the heart is arguably the most important muscle, right, in our body. So we don't get very far without our heart working well.
Absolutely.
Again, it runs on these two different modes, right? So it runs on glucose at certain times and will run on fat at certain times. It's 20 times more efficient when it's running on fat. So I want my brain maybe is the most important, second most important organ in my body. So I want that thing running as efficiently as possible. And again, if I eat all the time, it's not, right? So it's almost like, it's really interesting. This is sort of a spiritual thing for me. And I really view this as almost a spiritual battle, because let's say you're a light container, okay, for lack of a better word. So it's a God container. So I can, pour a certain amount of your soul or your godliness, into your physical container. Well, when I'm getting you to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I'm kind of having you, let's say, run on glucose, I'm turning that down. I'm turning down your ability to fill your container with light. I'm dimming your light as a human. And it sure seems like almost everything in our society is trying to do that to us, in our physicality. So what we're trying to do is teach you what that switch is, and how to basically turn that up, and how to get more life into your container, get more of your soul into your container, get more vive, get more energy, however you want to kind of think about it. But I think about it spiritually, so we've all been kind of put to sleep, and this is a way that we can begin to kind of wake back up, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, well, this is probably a good place to leave it. Do you have anything that you want to kind of get in there before? Tell us about I want to know about your Zumba, though, and we talked about that a little bit before we started, and kind of what.
Well, I don't do Zumba anymore. That was I used to teach that. Now it's called Eccentrics Aging Backwards, And the lady that created this program is from Canada, and that's where she's based out of. And so I'm certified. I'm working on my 3rd level right now. There's 4 levels. I'm working on my 3rd level right now. I'm trying to learn all these muscles. It's kind of hard. But she also had breast cancer. Okay. And had to have a double mastectomy, I understand. And she has a segment, I believe it's on YouTube, that you can go to. And her name is Miranda Esmond White. And she will, that's out there for anybody that's had reconstruction surgery. It helps to, because, they take all this skin off, and then you've got to stretch that back out, if you decide to have, implants or whatever. But yeah, I would definitely look into that. If I was going to have breast cancer, or surgery, breast surgery, definitely look into that, because that'll help you heal, the skin and all the muscles around there to, react in a good way. And then is a point of, just as far as overall health, I would tell people, if they ask me what, I just tell them to go, try to go as natural as possible, try to intermittent fast, try it, give it a shot, stay away from over-the-counter medicines, and try to limit your medicines that your doctor gives you. Research. Call Chip. He'll help you with a lot of the different medicine, not medicine, but supplements that help with your, you have pain, in your stomach. You have a lot of, foods nowadays, the trans fats, the processed foods are just really wearing people's digestive systems out. And I would stay away from some of that kind of stuff, and, exercise and be outside a little bit, as much as you possibly can. And
yeah, no, that's
yeah, I would definitely encourage anyone that is faced with any kind of cancer, or any kind of really a health issue, is to get a bioresonance scan and get a thermal imaging. It's so enlightening, and it's not expensive, and it really opens up your way of thinking about your body, because it's just different than what people are used to, and when you're 73 years old, and you most people won't change their lifestyle a whole lot. And I would say, that is hard. It's hard to completely go natural, but just start and go a little at a time, and just keep going, and do your research, and try not to take any more pharma drugs. The less, the better.
That's a awesome advice, and that's a kind of a great place to leave it. I would say it's just that was well said, Diane. Very well said.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, fun. Thank you. And so we'll tell everybody bye, and we'll be back next week with another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Okay. Later. Bye.